Well, g'day guys, it's the Outback Legend here, and today I'm bringing you a tips and tricks video on how to be more effective in the attack choppers in Battlefield Hardline. Now this video, a lot of the tips and tricks I will be showing you will also apply to Battlefield 4, so if you prefer to play Battlefield 4, this video should still give you a bit of a hand with getting better in the scout choppers as they're known in Battlefield 4. Now, we'll start off by I'm going to show you what sort of things you will need, and then we'll get into some gameplay and I shall give you some tips on how to properly fly the choppers and be more effective. Because a lot of people find the choppers can be quite daunting and quite difficult to fly, but they're really not, and I'll show you that in this video that they can be rather simple and very easy to fly. So, let's get started, shall we? Well, the first thing you will need, make sure you've got a repair tool, because if you don't have a repair tool and you get hit by a stinger or small arms fire, you will not last very long in the chopper at all. So make sure you've got a repair tool on you at all times. If you don't, unfortunately, you will not last long. So make sure you have one, it is essential. Well, now for the fun part, the chopper. Me personally, with the choppers, my preference for weapons, I like to use the HMG. I find it kills quick and it does a lot of damage. You can use the miniguns. The miniguns are very effective. They do mow infantry down, but I personally prefer the HMG because it has splash damage. Now next up we have the M3M. The M3M, personally, I don't like. I feel that it runs out of ammunition way too quickly. It's just not as effective as the HMG or the miniguns, so I choose to leave that alone. But that's my preference. Now for countermeasures, I use the ECM jammer. You can use the flares, but personally I prefer the ECM jammer for the simple fact that the ECM jammer just gives you more time to get away, whereas the flares, once the flares are gone, that's it, you're free to be locked up by a stinger. ECM jammers just tend to last just that bit longer, and they give you just enough time to get out of there and get away from a stinger. Now extinguishers, personally I feel the extinguishers are absolutely useless. I don't even know why they've been put in to the choppers, because they offer absolutely no protection whatsoever. You can survive one stinger if you're on 80% or above, but if you're 80% or below, the extinguishers will do nothing. So don't even look at them, to be honest. And that's my personal recommendation, is to use the ECM jammer. They are just that much more effective. Now for the upgrades. Personally, I like to use the proximity scanner. I find the proximity scanner is very helpful. You can use the gyro stabilizer. That's good for if you get disabled. It'll help you get out of there just that bit easier. You can also use the counter surveillance. I don't find it to be very effective. And also the air radar. Air radar can be very helpful, especially when fighting another chopper, because if he goes out of your field of view, you will always know where he is just by looking down at your minimap and onto your air radar. But personally, I prefer to use the proximity scanner just because it shows up all the infantry that come up, and it'll also show up ground vehicles, and it just makes it just that bit easier to find people. And I will tell you, I have had so many people that I have not seen that have been hiding around in bushes or maybe in a doorway, and I've known they're there because I've used a proximity scanner and been able to swing around and take them out. So that's personally what I would use. Now for the gunner. Well, for the gunner, personally what I like to use is the zoom optics. You can use thermals, they are rather effective, but zoom optics I find are just that bit easier to get the hits on. You can zoom right in on them, and it just makes everything just that little bit easier on taking out your targets. Now for the gunner upgrade, I prefer to use the gunner ammo belt because it speeds up your rate of fire. I feel that that's really helpful. I don't really like to use any of the others. Mind you, I haven't played around with the gunner proxy scan, but I just don't find I have any need for that really, because generally you're moving too quick in a chopper to be able to turn the gun around anyway, so yeah, I don't really bother with them. And that's all I would really recommend to use in your chopper. Again, that's all you really need, and now we'll get into some gameplay. First things first, the controls. Now I'm playing on the PlayStation 4, and my buttons for the chopper are set to classic. Now the reason why I have them set to classic is because the throttle down and the throttle up will be using the L2 and R2 buttons. The sticks I have set to default. Now that setup makes flying the chopper very simple, it makes manoeuvring very simple, and it generally just makes it a lot easier to fly the chopper around. The sticks, the way they're set up, the reason why I leave them on default is because it just makes it much easier to aim. There's no need to touch the sticks in my opinion. Now, other things that I can recommend for the chopper when you're shooting, if they're close to you, make sure you aim your crosshairs directly on them, and if your enemies are further away, lead them a little bit, because if they're running in one direction, just lead the crosshair in front of them just a little bit, and you'll get hit markers pop up, and sure enough, you will get a kill very quickly. It's very simple and very easy once you've got the hang of doing that. Now, another thing that I can recommend is with stingers. Now, stingers are an absolute menace in the chopper. But the good thing about them is they do have warnings. You will know when somebody's locking you up with a stinger missile. And the easiest way to get away from them is as soon as you hear the beeping noise, which is the alert, hit your ECM, go down low, use anything you can as cover, whether it be a tree, a building, anything like that. And once you're in the safe zone, find somewhere safe to sit, even if it's out by your deployment, depending on how big the map is, and just wait for it to come back. And as soon as your ECM jam is back, you can get back into the thick of it. That is the easiest way to get away from them. And another thing that I can say, which is it's very risky, is if you know what direction they're coming from, if you know where they might be hiding, when they fire a stinger, you'll actually see a flash, and that's the stinger firing. Well, as soon as you see that flash, hit your ECM, and you'll have just enough time to make it over to them and take them out. The only problem with doing that is sometimes the ECM does not work all of the time, and quite often you will get hit, but unfortunately, if you really want to get rid of them, that's probably the best way to do it. And if you do get hit by a stinger, this is why I always like to play with a friend, because as soon as you get hit by a stinger, you can land the chopper, both of you jump out and start repairing. And if you are both repairing and you have the second perk on, which one of them is actually a repair tool perk, you will find it will be up in seconds. You can go from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds with that perk, so it's very helpful. One warning though is if you're flying with somebody you don't know, it's very hit and miss, because I've had quite a few people who have thought it would be funny to jump in the pilot seat and take off while I've been repairing, which it's very frustrating, and in all seriousness, it's, you know, it's not a very funny move, but unfortunately those kind of things happen sometimes. But if you're flying with a friend, you're pretty much safe. Another good thing about flying with a friend is because they have the miniguns, and with the minigun, if you attack, let's say, a counter-attack truck, you will bring it down in in no time. It's very quick to bring down anything if you have both of you firing at them. And also, any infantry that you might not get, you will clean them up, because they can't survive two of yous. Now, any other tips that I can really give? Practice, practice, practice. You've got to make sure that you always practice with the choppers. It's, you know, it's one of those things, the more you practice, the better you'll get. And as I'm sure you can tell, I've practiced quite a bit with the choppers, but it is worth it, because the choppers can be very fun and very rewarding. Now, another thing which might help, I'm going to leave a link down below to some gameplay of an 80 kill streak I did on this map with the attack chopper, and if you watch that you might be able to get a little bit more out of that as well. And that's all I really have to say. I hope you've enjoyed the commentary. I hope you've got something out of this, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought, what kind of things you'd like to see from me. And that's all. This is the Outback Legend, signing off. Take it easy guys, I'll catch you next time.